We are the restaurant brokers, and we sell restaurants.
We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm over a decade ago.
Atlanta, Georgia was our starting point, but our brand is spreading nationwide. We define restaurant brokerage and help buyers just like these.
Our dream, our goal, open up a restaurant, loving life, serving people breakfast and lunch, and then enjoying the rest of the day with them and ourselves.
Buying an existing restaurant, leasing a closed restaurant space, or purchasing a restaurant franchise. We help buyers satisfy their appetite for acquisition.
I'm part of a husband and wife team with this fella.
Working with my wife has been a lot of fun. The ultimate goal for everybody here is to make this work. And because we have different strengths, we bring different angles to the deal.
The process begins with our powerhouse website, WeSellRestaurants.com, where buyers sign online confidentiality agreements and browse restaurants for sale.
Then we send buyers undercover to check out a restaurant and decide if it's the right one for them.
Buyers get our proprietary business analysis tool with all the financial details on the business for sale.
After studying the restaurant inside and out, it's back to our office.
We're deal makers. We write contracts and negotiate terms for buyers and sellers. That's why we sell more restaurants than any other firm in the nation. We are the restaurant brokers. Our name says it all. I'm Robin Gagnon.
And I'm Eric Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm, We Sell Restaurants, over a decade ago. You can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com.
That's not all. We're also on your radio once a week with the leading authorities in the restaurant industry talking about subjects trending in the restaurant business. You can tweet your questions on our topics while we're on the air to our Twitter handle. It's @SellRestaurants. Post to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. You know, if we don't get to your questions, we'll follow up through our social media channels.
Our goal is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. If you have any ideas or any comments about the show, feel free to send me an email. My email is Eric, E-R-I-C, @WeSellRestaurants.com.
Today, we're finding out what's on the menu for technology. A recent survey by the National Restaurant Association says customer use of technology is rapidly expanding. From menu placement to redeeming rewards, paying the charge with a smartphone, or finding deals, technology is front and center. We have an expert panel who's going to help us find out how restaurants are preparing for the digital age and how it affects their customers. We also have these experts here to give us an insight on where technology is taking us. Our first guest today is John Valentine. John leads LevelUp's enterprise team in selling custom-branded mobile payment and loyalty apps to growing quick-serve and fast-casual restaurants across the country. His current clients include Sweet Green, Argo Tea, Hale & Hearty, Protein Bar, and Fresh to Order. John graduated from Tufts University with a BA in economics and from Villanoma with a JD. Upon passing the bar in Maine and Rhode Island, John joined a company as an early employee, and now LevelUp, the company has built itself into the largest mobile payment network in the U.S. John, welcome aboard the show.
Thank you, Robin and Eric. How are you guys?
Great.
We're doing great. We also are joined today by Austen Mulinder, the CEO of Ziosk. Austen brings more than 25 years of experience in management, global sales, marketing, and operation. He most recently served as Corporate Vice President of Operator Channels at Microsoft and previously served as Corporate Vice President for the communications sector, where he led strategy, sales, and marketing of Microsoft services and solution to telecommunication, hosting, media, and entertainment companies. Before joining Microsoft, Austen served for 6 years as President and CEO of Fujitsu Transaction Solution, a wholly owned Fujitsu company. During his tenure there, he led the company's transformation into a leading retail technology solution vendor. We're glad to have you on the show today. Welcome, Austen.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys.
Okay, and our third guest, last but not least, is Andrew Waber. Andrew is a market analyst at Chitika, an online ad network based outside of Boston. He also serves as the lead author of reports for Chitika Insights, the company's independent research arm, studying a variety of topics relating to how users interact with the online world. Andrew's commentary on given Chitika Insight studies has been quoted by the New York Times, CNN, Money, and The Guardian, among other outlets. Thanks so much for joining us, Andrew.
Great to be here.
Okay, so let's get started. Everyone's in the area of technology, so I'd like each of you to take a turn and tell us in layman terms what your company does and how it helps today's restaurant owner. Can we start with you, Austen? Tell us about Ziosk. What does the company do?
Sure. Thank you very much. So Ziosk places a 7-inch tablet on the table in casual dining restaurants, and the goal of the Ziosk experience is, first and foremost, we transform the experience for the guest, and that's particularly through giving them control of elements of ordering and particularly of payment. And secondly, we bring a whole new capability to the restaurant to deliver enhanced customer service, and that creates all kinds of opportunities, both top and bottom line, for the restaurant. The final thing that I would say is that we have a business model that enables restaurants to deploy the Ziosk capability in a way that has no capital spend impact, and in fact, overall, it ends up costing less than zero to the restaurant.
That sounds pretty good. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, so we actually recently launched a product called Sidewalk, and what that actually does is allow restaurants, or really any small business, to specifically push out a mobile ad to a given geographic area, and do so at kind of a low price point. We actually start at $1 for 1,000 impressions, and this we've been rolling this out across our area recently, and it is nationwide at this point, and we've seen restaurants, one area restaurant actually in particular that does Mediterranean food, they were looking to increase their lunchtime traffic, and actually saw it increase about 10% while they were rolling out this promotion over the course of a week, with people coming in saying that they had seen this mobile ad. So kind of a new way for restaurants to reach their local community.
That's great. And John, the CEO of LevelUp, they actually opened up that National Restaurant Association second annual Restaurant Innovation Summit. Tell us a little bit about LevelUp and what you folks do.
Absolutely. So over here at LevelUp, we enable quick serve and fast casual brands to accept mobile payment at the point of sale through both the LevelUp branded app as well as over 100 custom branded apps that we've built for quick serves and fast casuals like Steak and Shake, Dunn Brothers Coffee, Sweet Green, Piata, Chop, you name it. We've built a bunch of great mobile payment and loyalty apps for brands. Because we live inside the transaction, sort of where money moves at these restaurants, we're able to collect a lot of rich customer data, their name, their email, their transaction history, what they buy, which location they go to. And all of this great data allows our restaurant clients to target customers with marketing campaigns that both boost repeat visits and average ticket. So we're using big data in an actionable way to allow merchants to improve their bottom line.
That's great. So, guys, we see restaurants have somewhat adjusted in big ways to the digital age, but where do you see, technology even from now going forward? Where do you see technology in the restaurant industry for the future? Austen, you want to get started?
Look, I think that what's happened historically is the technology that's been invested in the restaurant has been for the back of the house. I think what you're seeing is as you have technology which is actually for the guest or for the consumer, you can, as some of the other guys have talked about, you can gather new data about guest preferences and about order history and in fact what stage they're at in a meal, where you can introduce new technologies that will enhance the experience for the guest even more. So, for example, with Ziosk on the table, we're on every table in every restaurant, and right now, we're in some 1,500 restaurants, so that's 25 million people a month are being exposed to Ziosk. Because we know where everybody is in the dining cycle, it creates the potential to make wait list management much, much more precise for the guest, yeah?
That's almost scary to me to hear. You know what I'm eating, when I'm eating it, and what's up next. So, John, what about from your perspective? Where is all this technology? Is it customer service enhancing? Is it customer experience enhancing? Is it bottom line enhancing, or is it all of the above?
I really do think it's all of the above. The beauty about the movement in technology recently, as Austen alluded to, is that most of the technology that people interact with most of the time now sits in a customer's pocket. And as a restaurant brand, not only do you want to have your brand represented well within their home screen on their smartphone, but you also want to give them opportunities to use that technology in their hand in fun and interesting ways inside the restaurant as well. And that has the wonderful side effect of allowing the brand to learn a heck of a lot more about each one of their customers than they ever have been before. So certainly the convenience factor and the speed factor are two very important pieces. With Ziosk, the ability to order additional menu items without having to flag down a waiter or waitress, or the ability for a customer, instead of pulling out their loyalty card and then their method of payment, being able to just simply open up their phone and scan their phone for payments really is attractive to customers because it's just so fast and it's just so easy. And then on the far end, customers want to be marketed to. They want an iBeacon message to welcome them by name as they walk in the door. They want a customer service survey hitting their smartphone in a receipt so they can share their thoughts and feelings on the experience. People want to be engaged with, and all this new technology right in their hands or right on their table allows that to happen.
And Andrew, you do it a little bit different because you said you're sending messages out and everything, and everybody says, oh, yeah, that's been there, done that. What's different? Where are we heading in that direction for mobile technology to bring people into the door?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And I think, going along with what John said, the technology in people's pockets nowadays with mobile phones. Pew Research, I believe, saw earlier this year that about 90% of Americans own a phone, use a phone almost every day. And so these, people now have the ability to be marketed to pretty much all day, right? And you have obviously expectations as a consumer in terms of when and where you want to be marketed to. But the issue is that for mobile advertising, this has been an area that's been dominated by the largest players, simply because of how the economics have worked out around and how the ecosystem has been built. But what's happened recently is that more and more mobile applications, mobile web, have opened up their advertising space for bids, essentially giving it the ad space out on the open market. And what we did with Sidewalk is basically plug in smaller retailers, or smaller restaurants in this case, into that ecosystem so that they can reach local customers. Because the idea is for a restaurant, they don't necessarily care, right? If they're based out of a local community in Texas, they don't want to even reach Houston or Dallas. They want to reach people in their town because that's where their walk-in traffic is. That's where their repeat customers are. And this has really been a boon to allow for restaurants to hit people directly, the people that they care about, and do so on a cost basis that's not prohibitive. And that's a huge thing, right? With restaurants that are dealing with, a mom and pop style restaurant, a pizza parlor, you're not looking 6 months down the line and creating this long-term strategy. You're thinking about, what am I going to do this week to get people in the door? And this kind of technology enabling people to get these small targeted ad placements is going to be really big to get these smaller restaurants on the same playing field as some of the bigger guys.
So then, Austen, really what I'm hearing from everyone is the use of all of this data is allowing for a very micro-targeted approach to marketing to a customer. You don't have to try to be everything to everyone anymore. You can really hone in on those characteristics of your customer and bring them in the door with an offer or upsell them once they're in the door with an offer. Would you agree with that?
I think I would absolutely agree that potential exists. I'm not sure that I totally agree that everybody wants to be marketed when they walk in the door with a beacon message or whatever. I think there's a lot of people who have that propensity, but I think equally there's a lot of people that don't. So one of the distinctions I would like to draw is that what we find in casual dining restaurants, this is not so true of quick casual or fast casual, is that the frequency of the guest to those restaurants, where even the best guests only come every 4 to 6 weeks, means that their willingness to have a mobile app that comes from the brand is very, very low. And so the reason why we put a device on the table is we have learned that you can't just expect that in a Chili's or whatever, that everyone's going to get their phone out and put their Chili's app up. So by putting a device on the table, first of all, it's curated to the brand of the venue. And secondly, it's completely optional. So for those people who don't want anything to do with technology, they don't have to touch it, and they do everything the way that they've always done it. But what we find is that about 80% of the restaurant will use the Ziosk to browse the menu. And so, we have over 70% of the tables with Ziosk on. It's being used to manage the payment process. So it's very, very high percentage if you provide your own device. I'm a huge believer in the role of the guest's mobile phone, but I also think that in the case of a lower frequency environment, if you don't provide your own device, then you're not really going to get much engagement from the guest in your own app, because they don't come to you often enough to earn a place on their phone.
Good. And I can see right now some of our listeners that own restaurants, and they're bombarded every day with app for this, app for that, email blast for this, so many different things of technology now. I would like to ask you guys, how do you prioritize? Because if I'm a small restaurant owner, I only get so much money in my budget for certain things, and there's 25 things every week coming at me. I can't buy all of them. So how do you build to that level of customization and information? John, you want to start us up?
Absolutely. They are certainly, you're right, bombarded by tons and tons of startups and companies that are promoting the next big loyalty program, the next big mobile payment platform, the next big order ahead experience. There's a lot of different categories in restaurant technology, and their inboxes must be absolutely outrageous by the end of every day when they sit down after dinner to sort through them. And I'm sure their phones have been ringing off the hook as well, because the opportunity is very large. One thing that I stress, and I think is important for any restaurateur, owner-operator, or even franchisee to think about, is that you got to make sure that the technology, all the pieces of technology that you're going to use, will see use in the restaurant, and B, will talk to each other. So if you have something sitting on the table, you really do want it to be integrated with the point of sale that the waiters and waitresses go to in the back of the house. If you have a scanner for mobile payments, you want to make sure that that scanner and that platform can talk and connect directly to whatever point of sale that you've chosen. And because if you have a bunch of these technology pieces, which inevitably most brands will over the next few years, you want to make sure that the experience for both the customer and your employees is as seamless as humanly possible. Friction is the enemy.
How about you, Andrew? Do you agree with that thought process? Everything needs to talk to each other? And are we there yet?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if marketing in other areas has taught us anything, is that having an integrated experience, a seamless experience, that's a good thing. For these, restaurant marketers, I would say that we're probably not there yet for a lot of these restaurants, not necessarily every restaurant. But you look like we're across even within the promotional space, which is what I'm most familiar with. You have restaurants that you have a lot of options available to you, right? Like initially, 8 to 10 years ago, you had Yellow Book, Super Pages, but it was kind of this black box of online services that package in where we'll play. They would say we'll place your ad on local searches, that type of thing, but you didn't necessarily know where this ad went. And, obviously next came, Groupon, the daily deal sites that have, while they're definitely local and they get you a lot of exposure, the financial implications of doing some of these deals is often pretty onerous on the restaurant owner. And additionally, the metrics in terms of repeat visitorship are kind of troubling. I think, several years ago, Groupon themselves estimated that only about 22% of Groupon buyers end up being repeat customers. So that's, kind of low. And then, through it all, you have Facebook, which is a great way to, talk to existing customers. But in terms of getting, a kind of a new audience there, it's now more of a pay for play where you need to pay for Facebook ads and manage their still very complex kind of targeting engine to, get what you're looking for. So the idea, though, that everything should be integrated is absolutely true. Like, as much as you can, right, as a restaurant owner, is try to, coalesce the experience in terms of, for your online presence anyway, can you put the information out there that the customers are going to be looking for in that particular context, right? For an online ad, it should be very basic in terms of what you're offering, and a very short description. But right, you can do obviously more long-form content on the blog, on let's say on Facebook. But I don't think we're there yet, at least for most restaurants, because it's very difficult to manage. I mean, if you're running a restaurant and trying to run this, your online presence, it sometimes can be a very time-consuming.
And what about we talk about millennials and and the boomers and adoption of technology and everything. No, we're seeing a lot of new things. Like you guys are definitely on the cutting edge of a lot of new things happening right now.
So Austen, can you weigh in on that? Because while some of this technology sounds amazing, and I'm sure that 18 to 35-year-old is probably grabbing their phone and opting right in to whatever this new latest and greatest is. Are there some findings that show that boomers are actually adopting these new technology advances as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so, at the end of the day, we have restaurants where over 90% of the tables are paying with credit debit on the Ziosk, and they do not have 90% of their guests as millennials. So, we find that obviously that you're right, the millennials adopt this stuff quicker, and in fact, they have an expectation that technology is going to be used so that their time isn't wasted. So millennials typically hate waiting to pay in a restaurant, and they love it when they can just pay in a minute and go. But we're finding that it doesn't matter how old you are, you get frustrated if you have to wait to pay, for example. And so we have spent a lot of time ensuring that the user interface for our technology on the Ziosk is extremely intuitive, and anyone can sit down and work it out for themselves without a lesson, and that's how we drive such high engagement. So I think that, technology is for everybody. I don't think that we just have to assume it's for millennials, but I do think that those restaurants who are either doing well at attracting millennials or want to attract millennials need to really take as much friction out of the experience as they possibly can by taking full advantage of technology. And the previous question you asked about, how should the restaurant prioritize where they invest in technology? For me, it's quite straightforward. First of all, you have to understand what your brand is and what the experience you're trying to promote to the guest is. So we don't think a steakhouse, a high-end steakhouse is going to put a Ziosk on the table, for example. But if it's appropriate for your brand, then for me, there's two lenses you look through. What's going to have the highest positive guest impact? And after that, what gives you the best return on the investment that you make? And if you kind of go through that, does it fit the brand? What has the highest guest impact, and what delivers the best ROI? Then it becomes relatively straightforward to decide which of these technology opportunities should you be investing in.
I think that's actually really, really good information. And from each one of you, because you're coming from a different perspective, we are getting a lot of good insight for those who would be our audience, folks who are already in the restaurant industry today or even would-be restaurateurs. We're going to take a brief time out. When we return, we'll have more from Austen Mulinder from Ziosk, John Valentine from LevelUp, and Andrew Waber from Chitika. So hang on, you're on the air with the Restaurant Brokers. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon. We are talking with technology experts today as we satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. We are going to take a brief time out to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back after the break.